Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of the first book in the Mage Errant series by John Bierce, Into the Labyrinth. Now, not too often you can say that you read a book by accident, but this is one of those weird situations. I was reading through different recs on a thread on the Lit RPG subreddit, and this book came up over and over again as a really popular series. So I picked it up on Kindle, sat down to read it, and it's not a lit RPG book. Not even a little bit. Could you call this progression fantasy? Probably, but there is absolutely no world where this is lit RPG. And you know what? Not mad about it. Not mad about it at all, because this is a wonderful, adorable little YA fantasy book. Honestly, I was so impressed with this. If you're someone who grew up reading books like Harry Potter or A Wizard of Earthsea, this is going to feel right at home. This is a wonderful magical academia setting with a really fantastic cast of characters that is just beautifully written. The prose isn't too heavy or over the top, but it just really gets where it needs to go. It's fast, it's snappy, the world building's compelling, the magic is fun, and the characters are great. This is a great book. Again, read it by accident, but was so pleasantly surprised. Ended up reading the first couple books in the series because I enjoyed them so much. And this is a quick, snappy read that you can sort of, do in an evening if you want. And again, someone like me who's a little bit older, but still sometimes enjoys some of those nostalgic books. But I think for those who have maybe younger people in their lives who are maybe getting more into YA fantasy, I talked about Ascendant recently as well, which is sort of more on the Dragon Rider side of things. If you're looking for something more on the Magic Academy or Magic School end of things, I definitely recommend this book. It was an absolute blast. Now, this book follows the main character, Hugh of Emblem. Where is Emblem, you might ask? Well, probably nowhere that you care about. If you're anybody in this world who cares about anything other than sheep farming, apparently. It's sort of this backwater area that, is known for having basically no magic, which means that it basically produces no mages. So the fact that Hugh is here at Skyhold, this incredibly prestigious magic school, kind of an anomaly. And his bullies especially do not let him forget it. We sort of meet Hugh, he's sort of running away from his bullies, hiding out in the library, and ends up getting rescued by a librarian. And you kind of realize that he's really not someone who's on the in crowd at all. And he really struggles just to do even the most basic of magic. For some reason, for him, no matter what it is, if it's the most simple spell to something complex, it just goes wrong, or finds a really creative way of going wrong. Sort of the only way that he kind of gets around that is by using sort of these more advanced, sort of rigorous, they call them spell forms, which is sort of how magic is utilized in this world. And he's sort of, whether you draw them or utilize them as sort of these sigils or runes, etc. He's definitely a lot better at sort of more of that sort of trap magic archetype. That being said, he's got an interesting situation going on because he's turning 16, which means that it's time for him to get a master. Now, the way the education and schooling progresses at this school, this institution, is that when the students come of age, that they are assigned a master, or a master picks them to then sort of continue on their particular education. Now, for Hugh, he's not really looking forward to this because, like I said, he's probably like one of the lowest sort of rung mages at this academy. So he's sitting there in this grand hall surrounded by all these powerful wizards, hearing name after name of his peers getting picked around him. He's just sitting like, no one's going to pick me. This is going to be the most embarrassing thing ever. But lo and behold, he is actually picked. And lo and behold, it's by that librarian that he saw earlier. Now, he's not necessarily feeling great about this. Like, wait, who is this random librarian who's picking me? Well, it turns out that particular person is named Aliston. And he is actually a librarian errant, which means him kind of a warrior librarian, which is really interesting. He basically goes out and retrieves rare or dangerous texts that basically shouldn't be in the hands of the general population. And he brings them back to the library for protection. Now, he is a really interesting character because not only did he pick up Hugh as an apprentice, but also two other young students, Talia and Sabia. Now, all three of them they have some challenges, let me put it that way, when it comes to doing anything with their magic. All three of them have a particular set of afflictions, in some cases, problems with affinity in others, because affinity is a big part of magic in this world. Essentially, you sort of have these different, basically, elements of magic that you're naturally attuned to, and that's basically how you conduct your magic. So all people can do sort of some sort of basic magic that's not really attuned, cantrips, essentially. But most people really focus on sort of their particular school of magic, whether that might be stone magic or lightning magic or paper magic. And no, I'm not talking about MTG. Not that one. None of that in this world. But basically, it really follows these characters learning to develop these skills, because that's what Allston is all about, trying to help out these three misfits to actually learn how to use their magic. Because as it turns out, it's not necessarily that they're bad at it. It's just that, like I said, they have these particular challenges, and helping them overcome it is a really interesting part of it, and sort of using maybe some of their deficiencies in some case to their advantage, and watching them transform into three pretty darn powerful mages as they sort of take on this sort of first real year of their more advanced education, leading to them taking on their final exam, which is to descend into the Labyrinth. Of course, Into the Labyrinth being the name of the book. And it really is nice to sort of have this ticking timer over the book itself, and it really follows this very wholesome journey of these characters sort of coming together. And there's more that sort of, join over the course of this, and the friendships that end up blossoming and developing, and the way that they end up supporting each other. And again, this is just one of the most fun, wholesome reads that I read back in 2024. I was so impressed with this book. Again, it really came out of left field for me. I was really not expecting this. And it just, yeah, I was just legitimately so blown away. It was just such a, again, I don't think it's not categorized as cozy fantasy. Like, there are definitely still stakes, and there's a broader world that's going on, and there are monsters, and there definitely are more classic YA fantasy elements. But just the way that the relationships are penned and the way that the characters are fleshed out, you totally can envision them. Like, they have real personalities, and the personality clashes and the way that they work together are fantastic. I was really, really impressed with this. Again, I think if you're someone who is looking for maybe a hit of that sort of maybe Harry Potter or Earthsea nostalgia, this definitely could be right up your alley. Definitely a big fan of this one for sure. I think the magic system is very robust. And again, while it definitely doesn't have like hard numbers or anything like you would see in lit RPG, things like, attuning your mana and progressing forward, and growing your overall mana pool and other things definitely do have some of those lighter progression fantasy elements, which I thought was really fun to see in a context like this. Overall, like I said, I mean, this was pretty darn close to a 5-star for me. I mean, I feel like it's very rare that you get such a pure distillation of this like academia YA fantasy book. It really, really hit the nail on the head, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Again, if you enjoy videos like this, or if you have recommendations, if you have other books in any capacity in the YA fantasy or grimdark fantasy, it's like that too, or sci-fi, space operas especially, I do quite enjoy. Any books in those particular genres, it's not how I wanted to start that sentence, but that's where it ended up, so here we are. Any sort of book recs in that space, definitely feel free to drop them in the comments down below. And again, if you like the video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Cheers.